Okay? Okay. Maybe. Live. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back. Welcome back to Greedfall. Welcome back to the stream. Jumping right back into things. We're in the middle of the Divesp conspiracy, doing some various political intrigue stuff. And it is our last Christmas stream for the year. Well, every season has to end soon. But thankfully that'll bring us straight into Mardi Gras, because as I've probably yammered about, I don't really believe in ordinary time before Easter. It's Christmas, Candlemas Wednesday, Mardi Gras, until Fat Tuesday, then Lent. Then we're off to the solemnities. Anyway, Merry Christmas, everyone, one last time for the year. Well, I'll say it again at the end, but regardless. Anyway, welcome back. Getting ready to I actually don't know if we will finish the Divesp conspiracy tonight. I actually don't exactly know how long this DLC is. This could be the rest of tonight and next time. This could be done in the first half of tonight. I really don't know. I get the feeling, just based on how things are going so far, I get the vague notion that this will be at least the rest of this stream. I get the feeling this is a decently long DLC, maybe 8 to 10 hours, something like that. So my guess is it'll be this week and maybe even into next week. We'll have to see. Yeah, missing knots first. So we'll go off to this. To remind you where we were, we had just discovered that her people, that is Divesp, this old family enemy who is set to who's in a position to marry Constantine, who is dying and missing. Hold on, I need to get rid of this. Alright. I had a candle going, but the very the very sweet vanilla smell is just making it impossible for me to talk. Anyway. So that she and her people betrayed a group of Nauts that they were on their way across the sea with. And so we are trying to see if we can find where they went off to, this group of Nauts. See where they went missing to, and see if she was directly responsible, and especially, I mean, yeah, probably. Then also see if we can prove it. Then we have to find the seal that she, at least allegedly or apparently, used to fake the marriage contract with Constantine. Because the timing of this is just a little bit too perfect. Lockpicking 2. Do I have... Hold on. I think I can do this. Oh, I should have sold some of this junk. No. Yeah. I'm going to go back for a moment and sell some things off. Sorry for not doing that off stream. I should have, but thank to. In any case, we have to prove that. We have to prove that this seal that she, at least presumably used, to make this marriage contract is fraudulent. So if we have the original seal that then we should be able to prove that it's fake, match it to the one on the document, that whole thing. And then also search through the camp to see if we can find any other evidence of her duplicity. All of that rolled together. We're onto the political intrigue section, like well and truly, of this quest. But we're sort of combining that here and there a little bit with political intrigue accomplished via action. Because that way. Okay. Accomplished via action because it is a It is a game. So it can't be, well, this sort of game. That's not right. That's not right at all. This sort of game can't exactly just be intrigue. The intrigue has to be accomplished through some... there we go. Through some kind of action-y means. So, let's go and see what we can do. Slinging spells around, swinging swords, perhaps. You know how these things work.
I am always happy to see you again. Do you want to see the objects I brought back from Vignauri?
Yeah. Let's sell first. Sell my junk first. I don't need that at all. Unless Kurt. I can't wield it and I won't be able to. Huh. Okay. All right. Same physical damage, a lot more armor damage, and I can upgrade it more. That's kind of way better. I kind of really like him with a sword, but... yeah, let's give him the big chunky mace, I guess. I guess.
Oh, it's you, Menawi. Come and
See if we can upgrade it a little bit.
oh.
Oh, that's nice. Yes. Then, pommel. It's a small round pommel. Yeah, that looks nice. Cool. That'll do us.
Want armor that fits you like a glove? We'll make it for you.
Honestly, I think I'm going to sell off that, maybe I'll disassemble it. Alright, fine.
The best forge.
Go to sell. Hold on. Sorry about all
a great
weird.
pleasure.
Again, this is stuff I really should just do off stream. I apologize. Sell. That'll work.
The best
Alright.
forge in
Let's go!
Blades, armor, locks.
I can't believe I passed right by this to try and find the place, but whatever. Anyway. So, this week I have a lot of fun stuff to look forward to. Like I said last week, we have our logic and critical thinking stuff this week, which is always a great time. It is one of my favorite parts of the class to teach, of any class to teach, partially because I teach it in almost anything, any class, or something like it in almost any class. Partially because it's just so darn important. Wait, where? The clan leaders. Oh, all the way. Okay, it's up there. It's up there. Okay. Missing notes. Yeah, okay, cool. Anyway, it's in part because, like I said, I teach it in almost anything. Almost anything I teach, it's going to have a section on logic and critical thinking. Then also, it's utterly important for almost any philosophical subject, at least, but really just about any subject, that students have a good idea of how to think and how to think clearly, and how to analyze arguments. So both making good arguments and picking apart bad ones, all of that lumped together. But then also, I'll add to that it is because most students don't learn logic, or at least don't. I gotta go around. At least don't learn it well anywhere before a philosophy gen ed in college. What this means, inevitably, is that I wind up blowing a few students' minds. Which, no matter the context, that is always a lot of fun to do. Oh, hello.
Protect me in this battle. To my health and death to the others.
Oh, this is banging. Love this music.
Move away. Things are about to get done.
Oh, jeez.
May the shadow engulf our enemies.
Bam! Alright. I forgot about that music. It's so great. Anyway, but getting students to think logically, specifically, like analyzing arguments for truth and falsity, for soundness, for validity, for anything in between, for really any objective standard, other than aligning with preconceptions or seeming right or seeming wrong, because that is kind of the standard by default. Key to the North Cell. They have a cell. That's not a good sign. All of that seems to be it's an alien concept to so many students. Actually thinking is an alien concept. And so if you can just sort of open up the cracks in a student's mind so that they can start to just barely see how this all works together, man, that moment is just fantastic. I'd love to see that. It is brilliant. And this is one of those subjects that does that. This, and I will say the other subjects that do this are so anything that has to do with fundamental ontology stuff, talking about the natures of things. So whether that is, oh, I got another key. Whether that is my introduction to the ontological argument, or whether it's the introduction to natural law theory, or things like that kind of make this paradigm shift happen from a more modern standpoint to a pre-modern or a medieval scholastic kind of standpoint. Those are just world-shattering as well, because they make you see everything differently. Notes on Governor Cornelia. About the Cardinal Cornelia. According to Ptolemy's records, Cornelia was born, blah, 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 high-ranking, deeply religious. Okay. Regular customer in places of sin. However, she apparently got rid of her old demons when she entered the order. Apparently, being the operative word, servants have told us that orgies are organized in San Mateus, and that the Mother Cardinal is involved in one way or another. Yeah, we knew this. Finding embarrassing proof on her dealings shouldn't be very difficult. Then she'll fall into line. So we knew this. But now we know that the Devesps know it as well, which is not great. Not great. Another key. Ooh, on Governor Burren. This we don't know much about. Okay. Born into a powerful family, a great mathematician, philosopher, wrote several books on diplomacy. We failed to find any interesting details about the governor himself. He seems to be a rather peaceful man. However, he could easily... Oh, excuse me. We could easily make trouble for him by supporting his rival Kurnaz. Their faction is growing more and more powerful in the continent, and Kurnaz has long wished to replace Burren. Until Burren is sent back to Al-Sad, Supporting the native rebels with whom they are at war should suffice to occupy him.
These documents are both precious and terrifying, my child. Can you imagine the kind of harm the De Vesps could do with this information? It's not all true, of course, but it's quite enough to spread doubt and create tension just as they did in New Serene. These people are worse than the Malachor. We must stop them at all costs.
Worse than the Malachor? That's a little extreme. These people didn't kill my mom. I'm just saying. Anyway. I do like that they have to do that, though, to just make the plot advance. Because otherwise, there wouldn't be as much of a reason to advance this, instead of just focusing on curing the Malachor, which is more important. But, you know, what are you going to do? You gotta advance it somehow.
Hey, is someone here? We need help! Help!
Yes, hello. Could have opened it with lockpicking, really? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you immensely for having freed us. Had we stayed here, those lunatics would have killed us.
They already killed one of the men by giving him some kind of potion.
Yes, Aurelia de Vesp came, with a smile on her face, and poisoned one of our men. To test the effects of a plan. That's what she said.
We must go through Aurelia's things. We need to prove that the wedding contract was forged to stop her from causing harm. Did you see or hear anything which could help me while you traveled here with Aurelia de Vesp?
That woman is very secretive. She isn't the kind of person who speaks of her plans in front of those she treats as servant.
I served her in her cabin. Every time I came in, she slipped the document she was reading or writing in special chests. However, one day I heard her talking to one of her followers. She told him that with all the information they had gathered, they would easily take over the island. She clearly spoke of bringing the other governors to their knees with the information she had against them. She wants to blackmail them.
She probably kept us locked up here because she knew that we had heard her plans.
That's undoubtedly true. Thank you for this information. Do you know how to get back to the Admiral, now that you're free?
Yes. Don't worry. We'll soon be back on our ship. Thanks to you. Goodbye, Your Excellency. Be careful.
Yeah, that was a good prioritization. Doing that first. Alright, what next? Ah, both of the things are in her camp. How am I going to search the camp when they're watching? Well, let's go that way. Find out. Anyway. The only thing I really lament about teaching logic this week is that it is not an election season. See, election seasons are my absolute favorite time to teach, especially philosophy, especially logic. I also found, though, in addition, if ever I'm teaching Plato, particularly the Republic, or anything about his critiques of democracy, that's also another great thing. That's a great time to be teaching any of that stuff, too. I don't know if I know Thomas. I don't think you're watching now, but if you do happen back, a former student of mine who I know at least watches back some of these, happen to be in my class on Plato's Republic, critical thinking class as it happens, but it was primarily on Plato's Republic. I think it was fall 2016, I think. And it was during the most tumultuous election of our lifetime, whatever you want to call it, the Trump-Clinton election, which was, by any account, just awful. Just awful. Terrible. But the wonderful news about that election is that it shook so many people's confidence in democracy. So much so that Plato barely had to do any work to shake anyone's belief in democracy. Plato's arguments are fantastic, but oh, hello.
How would you like a taste It's to the others!
Ah.
May the shadow engulf our enemies.
Hello. So we're just doing this. We're just doing this, apparently. Maybe if we sneak. Maybe that's better than just murdering everyone in the camp. Oof. Anyway, as I was beginning to say, election seasons also provide a great opportunity they provide wonderful examples of logical fallacies. Wonderful examples of just terrible arguments. Any debate, any political debate, is just full of some of the worst arguments anyone has ever made. And so teaching logic, and especially teaching how to criticize arguments, when you have that absolute treasure trove of awful arguments that everyone is at least vaguely familiar with. Oof. Oh, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. Can I get through here? Yeah, I can. That's not good. You're gonna spot me, aren't you? No, you're not. You're not gonna spot me. Oh, alright. I will say, though, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever the case may be, there's also plenty of crap going on right now that I can point to as bad examples of argumentation. I'm actually planning on broaching the subject of the coof in class and poor uses of statistics, causality, poisoning the well, strawman arguments, all sorts of fallacious argument structures, primarily informal fallacies, but formal as well, that are used to sort of support the COVID nonsense. And it also helps provide bad examples, or provide examples of really bad arguments, at least. That is helped by the fact that our university, St. Leo, has extended phase 3 of COVID policies and such, which include nonsense like mandatory student quarantines, which is abusive and horrifying and basically criminal. Mask requirements indoors, anywhere indoors, including the classrooms, which is, I mean, demonstrably nonsense. Again, even the CDC has finally admitted that this is nonsense, and yet they extended the policy an extra week just because, they don't know, scared of Omicron, they're scared of the common cold, basically. I don't know, it's either that or, to be more uncharitable, it's a hunger for power thing. Or, maybe to be middle of the road between charity and uncharity, maybe it's fear of litigation. That's a big problem with universities. Even private universities, big problem. Private universities are incredibly, unbelievably risk-averse when it comes to lawsuits. So, there we go. In any case, it'll provide me with some great examples and great things to pick apart logically. So, we'll see. It'll be fun. It'll be fun regardless, just because, again, when presented with an easy target to constantly pummel, why would you not? Anyway, so there's that. Of course, there's other examples in politics, there's examples in media, there's examples of bad arguments all over the place that I can use. Probably looking as well at the various examples of red herrings that we see in the media, where a company will cause or leak a controversy or make a controversial decision to distract from something else bad that they're doing. That the most recent example of this, two most recent examples of this, are probably changing the M&Ms. How Hershey, Nestle, whatever, is changing the M&Ms design so that they're like less sexy or whatever. I don't know. People are mad about it. And this is, of course, to distract from the whole child slavery scandal in, I think, in Central and South America primarily. So that's cool. If everyone's mad about green M&M not being, or green and brown, I guess, M&Ms not being sexy, not being as sexy anymore, and I guess they're not mad about child labor and child slavery. I think some child sex labor even, which is worse. But that's a lot. A lot of that's. I'm not up on the details of that specifics, so I don't want to insist on that part exactly. But then, of course, the other example is another cartoon character getting a weird outfit makeover. Minnie Mouse with the new weird pantsuit thing. A lot of people are calling like Hillary Clinton Mouse or whatever, and of course, it's covering up a lot of the first of all the less nefarious things like Walt Disney Company is posting losses. Their investors don't want to hear about that. Obviously, they don't want that to affect stock prices and things. But also the usual stuff that Disney is up to, like working very closely with the Chinese Communist Party and all of their concentration camps and stuff like that. Anyway, keep the Nazis who served us during the crossing locked up in the underground rooms under the ruins in the south of the region. They must not reveal what they witnessed. And having a few Nod hostages could be of use against their admiral if need be. And speaking of nasty and untoward political machinations. Okay, yeah. I'm not going to be able to get over there, am I? I'm going to loop around. I'll loop around. I think there's a way up over here past the camp, if I'm not mistaken. Hey. Getting caught on ankle-high invisible walls here. Yeah, right through here. Perfect. I only had to kill like 3 people. Which is not exactly what you want to do when you're... Oops, not that. Hello. Okay, cool. We're good, I think. Oh, hello. Not good. I think we're fast. Okay, no, we're good. We're very good. We're not great, but we're okay.
May the Enlightened protect me in this battle.
To my health, and death to the others!
What? Oops.
Move away! Things are about to get...
I think we accidentally had to kill everyone. My bad. It's okay. Everything will be fine, I suppose. It's probably fine. Well, we're all dead, I guess. Right, well, when stealth fails, employ Russian stealth. Nobody can see you if there's nobody to see you. Alright. Let's see. Ooh, a diary. Saucy. Unfortunately, my plan to get rid of Desardet and his companions failed. What a shame. Without his support, Constantine would have been... wait. Oh, without his support, Constantine would have bent the knee without balking. However, we have enough evidence to keep those two connivers in step. Yet I fear that my plan will be difficult to implement. Even if I do manage to make those two obey, the former governor and the other D'Orsay family loyalists still hold sway over the colony here, and could jeopardize my plans. Alas, I've run out of poison, but I've spotted a few plants in the area that could be of use. Once Lady Morange is out of the picture, I'll get rid of the others, and then all we'll have to do is rise up and take our places at the head of the city. Father will be surprised, but I'm sure he'll be proud. Why would you write this down? I mean, I don't care if it's a secret diary. Don't write that down. Just don't do that. Okay, we have the fake seal.
This seal we found was very well made. I must say, the De Vesps excel in the art of deception.
In any case, thanks to this seal, we can prove that the contract was forged. And we can send Mr. Vesp back to the
We must find an antidote if we wish to save Lady Mirage. Maybe the Donigada living in the region could help.
Yeah. Seems reasonable. So let's go ask the natives about local poison plants. I'm sure that won't come off as really sketchy about anything. What? What's going on here? There we go. I gotta, like I said, I love the environmental design, but every once in a while there's something just real tismy about how the, I assume that's down, about how things are laid out as far as like actual obstacles and stuff, as far as that all goes. Like, where can I cross this river? It's really unclear. Here? No. I guess. Oh, it really is that only that one spot, isn't it? Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Hi there. Okay, that's it. Let's head downwards, I suppose, right? I really hope that it doesn't turn out that we're going wildly the wrong direction here, but it's possible. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have to go down. I don't think there was a native settlement up there when we were wandering around at the bridges, but I don't know. We'll see. This is all very igneous. These are very, very lava-esque rock formations. Ooh.
May the enlightened protect me in this battle. To my help. And death to the others.
Ooh, nice shot, Kurt. Ooh, standing in this water, everything is kind of wobbly. That's kind of cool. Anyway. Ooh, lots of high quality iron. Nice. Hello?
May the enlightened protect me in this. To my help. And death to the others. Move away! Things are about to get dicey!
Thieves. Oh, this was a little side quest mission that I didn't even remember that existed. Cool. I'm stuck, though. What's happening? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Everything has frozen except for the camera. Okay. Now we're good. Okay. I need to do a little bit more saving, just in case. Don't I? They had a mage with them. Really, that's unusual for a group of bandits and thieves. Nice, though. Alright, what do we have? Oh! Not great, but still nice. Gold silver regiment studded armor. Nice, but high endurance, so I can't really use it. Oops. Okay. Marksman's Arquebus. Ooh! I think we're gonna have to give that to Afra, because that's way too high for us. Greetings, baby brother. Thief to his brother. Great. We've moved to the wilderness, but it turns out some kind of noble family set up camp here. The place is a gold mine. I know you don't approve of what I do, but these people's dirty laundry deserves to be dug through. They're a bunch of cutthroat assassins. You're right, you are. You'll find a small present in the chest I sent. It's one of the treasures I managed to pick up in the camp. You can sell it to make a bit of money. I'm going back into the camp with a couple of friends. You can't imagine the treasures to be found there. I spotted some suits of armor, which must be worth a pretty penny. I hope your apprenticeship is going well. Take care, your loving brother. Aw. Well, he's dead now. I mean, yes, he was stealing from the Devasps, and we hate them, and they're bad people, but still. Should have known. Then a present to Justin. Hope the money he gets from selling it allows him to continue his apprenticeship. He so wishes to avoid a life of thievery by earning an honest trade. See, that's better. That's better. These two is helping him. I hope the guy I gave the chest to won't get lost. It's impossible to find a messenger in this dump. If one of those guys hadn't gone to town, I'd never managed to send it. Seems the guards were waiting for us this time. He shot at us and I was hit. At least the haul was good. My share, Justin will become the craftsman he's always dreamed of being. We may even have a chance to buy a stall. Well, if I survive my wound. Well, you did, but then I came through. Well, you know what? I would say you should have known better than to, be a thief. A thief's life is short, or often cut short and all that. But he did know better. He explicitly knew better. He knew the risk he was taking, and he knew that he was probably going to die. So, it opens up, of course, some other, interesting and related questions about doing evil that good may come and stuff like that. That thing that we're commanded not to do by scripture and reason. That we should not do evil that good may come, so that we should not we should do what's right, and rather than. Oh, okay. Maybe I shouldn't fight these guys. Maybe I should go and check out what the natives have to say first, huh? Because they might tell me, hey, those are our pets. Don't kill them or whatever. Who knows? Anyway, finish searching around before I talk to them while I'm still chatting about this. And so, I mean, it's easy to fall into that line of thinking of, well, yes, he was stealing. Yes, he was doing something wrong. But, he was stealing from bad people. And, he was stealing to help his brother. He was doing it for a good cause. So I guess we can forgive it. Maybe we can forgive it. But that doesn't mean we can excuse it. It doesn't mean that it's not wrong. There's an important distinction in sort of the ethics and the ethics having to do with moral culpability and blame, of the differences between fault, blame, and most notably forgiveness, which is its own separate issue. And then a separate distinction, again, between justification and excuse. A justification says that it wasn't wrong. I did it, but it wasn't wrong. So that would be like, well, it was... they were bad people, and so I had to steal from them. Or, they were... I was doing it for a good cause. Yes, it was wrong, but it was... yes, I did it, but it wasn't wrong because I was doing it for a good cause. That sort of thing. Erica Thoughtbot, kill it. Russian one. Neat. An excuse, on the other hand, is saying that it was bad, but it wasn't my fault, or I didn't really do it. I'm not really responsible for it. That it's its own, that it was an accident, or I wasn't to blame for whatever reason. Right. Both of these are very different from forgiveness, which is saying that it was wrong, I was at fault, but I regret it, and I want to do better. I want to atone in some way or another. I want to be forgiven. I want to have this debt that I have incurred forgiven. So I want to either repay it or have this debt settled in some manner or another. So it's a kind of exculpation. It's a kind of getting getting out of trouble once you've gotten into it. Whereas an excuse or justification is a way of not getting into trouble in the first place. And so in this case, it's hard to say whether he would, whether the thief brother here is offering something like an excuse, saying, "Well, I had to do this, right? It was yes, it was wrong, but it wasn't my choice. I had to do this so my brother could do better or whatever." Any kind of "I had no choice" justification, I think, would qualify as an excuse here, which we didn't really see that, so maybe not that. It could be a justification, saying what I was doing was against bad people, so it wasn't really hurting anybody who we shouldn't hurt. And then further, it was doing it to help my brother, so maybe it was a good thing. Excuse me. Or maybe, most charitably perhaps, and of course those are bad justifications, because it was still wrong regardless of the target, regardless of the circumstances, whatever. And that is, of course, because utilitarianism or consequentialism is false, evil, and all that. The third, probably the most charitable interpretation, is that, yes, it was wrong. Yes, I'm responsible. I did something wrong. I shouldn't have, and I don't intend to continue. And I intend to make amends. I intend to start a new, better life. That sort of thing, which it seems like maybe he was on that track. Maybe not there yet, but he was on that track. And that's a kind of seeking forgiveness. So that's, I think, the morally best interpretation of the situation. Whether that is, in fact, what we see here. Maybe not. Let's see about this.
Have you managed to convince the Renaigse to leave on Olmenawi?
No. No, not yet.
Yes, I actually need your help.
No, I didn't.
I'm sure
What are you
you
talking
know
about?
all about the plants in this region. Do you know of any that are poisonous? The leader of those who came here plans to poison one of my friends.
It's true that the leader left the camp at one point. She stayed in the woods for a while.
If it was poisonous plants she was after, I'm sure she would have collected sedek leaves at this time of year. It's a slow but horrible poison, which causes a great deal of suffering. But the antidote can be
Slow is
found
good.
in some roots that we know well.
You're in luck. We have a small bottle. Anyone who
Ooh.
drinks it quickly after being poisoned will survive.
Thank you. I'm
Oh, no.
infinitely
I'm
grateful.
gonna have to make a
Do
dire
you have
choice, aren't
anything
I?
else to ask us?
I'm gonna have to make a dire choice here, aren't I? I hate this. WizKid says, hi ho, it's off to sleep I go. You're going to sleep already? It's what, 9:40? Come on, dude. I mean, to be fair, if you got stuff to do,
Thanks
you got
again
stuff
for
to do.
your
But,
help.
but,
Goodbye.
I'm just saying.
It's
It's good to hear from you, though. Hello?
And
How
don't
you doing?
forget, those Renaigse need to leave.
Working on it. Working on it. But yeah, I am predicting having to make a terrible, horrible choice. Aren't I? World map. I need to go somewhere where I can quick travel, which means to my camp up there. Doesn't it? Yeah. Oh no, you slept all day. Nice. A little jealous. That sounds awesome. It's a great way to spend a Monday, I think. Fantastic way to spend a Monday. Yeah, it's up there. Here we go. Here we go. By contrast, I'm gonna be probably going to sleep after the stream. Class in the morning. Logic stuff. Gotta be clear thinking. Oh, well, when you weren't at work hating Mondays. Well, that's understandable, I suppose. That is understandable. Okay, let's sell off some of the crap that we picked up here. Hmm. Hmm. That actually might be worth getting. Higher stun chance. Lower fury cost. Pro tip: don't work in the town you went to high school in. Yeah, I can get that. I get that. That's a nice sword. Let's see. I don't have the agility for any of this stuff. That's fine. I kind of want this ring. Same damage, same quality. 400? I can afford it. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. Buy and equip. Yes. Sell my current ring of Divine Fury. Which is the same thing. Oh, Divine Light versus Divine Fury. Fury generation is higher for this one. Yeah, no. No. Let's just get rid of it. For 91. Oh, that was such an undersell. Okay, yeah, that's fine. And that's really nice for someone, I'm sure. Taleme. Officer Gaitered Boots. Nah. Wizard's Trade. Oh, I should have given him the darn ring. I didn't. No. No, that's actually much worse. It just does a lot of elemental damage. It does a lot of elemental damage. Holy crap. Massive amount of stun. I might have to give that to her. That's actually really good. Marksman Arquebus. That might be really good. Siora, no. Kurt, I think he's good. Yeah, that's good. That's cool. I need to get him something that looks okay, but that's better. You know? Oh well. All right. Yeah, let's give that arquebus to Ephraim. Put away the other one. All right. So Wizkid says, did see a... I'm going to read it out loud because I know what it means. But I don't have to be happy about it. I did see a cutie pie from high school I still kind of have a thing for, though, so that rocked. But yeah, other than that, they totally took forever. I mean, do something about it. Whether that is do something about the cutie pie from high school, see what she's up to, or that could just mean, start looking around. I know you're in Michigan, and it's a I was about to say lawless hellscape, but it's kind of the opposite. Hellscape, yes. Lawless, kind of the opposite of that part. But you get the idea. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, also, to be fair, you're also, in college working through things like that. So, you might not, it may not be the time. Administer the antidote to what? To the rug? Okay, this, I gotta say, the DLC quest is kind of buggy. A little buggy. We'll complain about that a little bit. Oh, there you are.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for saving me. I never imagined the Defesps would go so far. She tried to poison me.
Don't mention it. The Donegada of the Duncast clan should also be thanked, my lady. They gave us the antidote.
May they be blessed. I'll send them a present to thank them. But you should go straight to the palace. Aurelia de Vesp was headed there. I'm afraid she may try to take over by force.
I'll go there right away. Get well soon, my lady.
Oh, is this it? Are we in the end game now? Holy crap, we're arresting her already? Well, that was a lot less than I thought. I thought this was going to take longer. Unless this is totally not over. We'll see. Speaking of, we're supposed to get a minimum of 6 inches of snow in a few days, so it's going to be fun. Nice.
On behalf of Governor Constantine d'Orsay, you are under arrest.
Oh, really? Hardly surprising. Typical of the d'Orsay family's underhanded methods. On what grounds, might I ask?
Firstly, for fraud and forgery. The wedding contract you gave us is fake.
Your lies are as dismal as they are desperate. The contract bears the seals of both my father and your
we didn't
prince.
actually talk
Is he
to
trying to back out?
Professor,
Or
what's
has
his name?
his idiot son simply decided to disobey him?
Neither. The d'Orsay seal upon this contract is forged. And I can prove it. Here. This is what was used to seal the contract. A cleverly made counterfeit we found in your camp.
That seal proves nothing. You probably made it yourself to undermine me. That contract could not be more authentic. The same, however, cannot be said of your noble lineage.
The second charge made against you is the attempted murder of Lady Morange.
Just
Are you
pull
also
those
going
straight
to deny
through.
that your men attacked her?
Nice.
This is a very serious accusation. I assure you that I had no knowledge of any attack on the former governor. And if an attack did indeed take place, I am certainly not the one responsible.
Is that so? Then why does this journal, written in your handwriting, say that you wish to rid your city of all d'Orsay sympathizers? And that you'd found the perfect poison
I
to
told you
do
that
the
was
deed in
stupid.
the forest surrounding your camp? Thankfully for Lady Morange, the Donegada living in the region gave us an antidote.
A journal only conveys thoughts, not facts. Don't tell me you've never wished for someone's death without
That's an
actually
admission,
acting
though.
on those thoughts.
In
And
writing.
more to the point, who's to say that journal's genuine in the first place? Your so-called evidence, Mr. de Sade, is but lie after lie.
Lastly, you are accused of having sequestered and murdered the Naughts who brought you to this island.
Another baseless accusation. I don't know how you could possibly prove my involvement.
As it happens, we freed the survivors, and they are very willing to testify against you. For all the charges set against you, you are under arrest.
The malachor upon you, de Sade. I greatly underestimated you. How wrong I was. I should have courted you and made you my ally. Together we would have been unstoppable. Very well. What are you going to do with me?
You'll be imprisoned here while we wait for the Congregation Council's ruling. Go on. Lock her up.
I have a bad feeling about this.
The de Vesps would have tried to impose themselves to the bitter end. It's fantastic that you gathered all this evidence. We won't have a ruling from the council for months. Years even. But I'm sure the de Vesps will pay a heavy price for Aurelia's folly, and the d'Orsay family will emerge greater than ever. Anyway, you should destroy the documents you found. Nobody else should ever get hold of them.
You're right. I'm going to burn them all right now, just to be on the safe side. Goodbye, sir. Thank you for your help.
I merely gave you guidance. That is my role. See you later.
What was it? Huh. That was it. Okay. Wow. Let's see that, Oh, well, that's nice. It's not as good, strictly speaking, but... Poison resistance, loot... I have to keep it. Maybe I can give that to... Oh, well, no, I can't give it to, what's his name now? Cape? No, no cape. Sword. Oh, it takes agility 3? Man. 100% stun chance, damn. But yeah, like I said, I have a bad feeling about this. The Vesp Armored Doublet. Very nice. Why does it take Endurance 4? That looks like light armor to me. Darn it. And it can't be modified either. Okay. But I put it in handsies and footsies. What's going on now? Oh boy. Okay. Anyway, so WizKid said the interesting thing is we meaning the cutie pie from high school. We have the same major, and I've always enjoyed talking with her, and whenever I see her at work, I manage to choke down my butterflies and have a decent conversation, so we'll see. We will see indeed. And the funny part about that is, if it just so happens that you guys wind up getting together, then someday you can show her this stream and have your weird professor friend talking about the possibilities. Wouldn't that be nice? Just delightfully awkward. Perfect. That's so much so much better than what I have. It's the exact same, some of the same stats. Diverse elegant boots. Actually, that I can wear. They're frilly. I don't know. Yeah? Kind of want to wear these. They're not as good in any capacity as the Warrior Kings. I don't know if they fit the aesthetic. No. Okay. No. Alright, that's it. Alright, well, that is it. That is it. Destroy the compromising documents. How and where do I do that? Something seems sketchy. Something about this does seem, as WizKid noted, sus. Sus AF.
All that's left is to destroy the evidence the Devesps collected about us.
That was it? Was it? Okay, that was it. Okay, alright. Fair enough. WizKid says, oh, and she's normal, so that's a nice change. Yeah. No psychos. That's always nice. I assume normal means like psychologically healthy and not going to stab you in your sleep kind of thing. That's always good. So WizKid said, I just wish I knew how to be as charming a person over text as I am in person. I hate using messages just randomly to talk to people. Don't talk to people. Go like. You play to your strengths, right? So if you interact better in person, use the thing you're less good at to arrange something that you are good at. You know, if you don't want to, oops, wrong thing. If you're better off in real person, like actually talking and interacting, like a smooth guy kind of thing, then all right, do that. Like lean into it. Now, you gotta set up the situation somehow. Doesn't necessarily have to, ask her out on a date, but maybe that'll work. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know, her at all, but, yeah, something like that. Anyway, that is my advice from someone who hasn't been single for 11 years, so. Take it with a little bit of salt, but I think hopefully there's something there. Alright, so I guess that was the Devespa conspiracy. I think we're done with the DLC in the first hour. Wow. I really honestly thought that would take longer. Huh. That was a relatively short DLC. That was only like 4 hours. Could have, if I ran through it, I probably could have done it a little less. Alright. Let's talk to Siora. She keeps having something to say about it. Say to us.
Karans, could you help me once more?
What is it?
I must prepare the ritual for our mother's funeral, and I think that I will need your help.
But your sister will be there. Surely you'd rather be together.
For the ritual, yes, it will only be the two of us. But before that, your support would be a great help. Will you come with me?
Yeah.
Of course. I'd be happy to be by your side. Let's go.
All right, let's leave Petrus, leave Kurt. Let's take Vasco. Because why not? All right. See if we can equip Vasco as well while we're here. Vasco. See if he can wear the full Devesp outfit. Oh my gosh, he can. We're going to dress him all up like Devesp. Top to bottom. Wait, no? Where'd I put it? Did I put it away? Devesp armored doublet. Vasco. Really? He just can't? What? You can wear the boots. The shiny boots. Very fine, I guess. That's dumb. Can... Maybe Siora. Oh god, it takes endurance 4. Okay. Maybe Afra? Oh my gosh, Afra can wear it. That's at least... Okay, Afra can wear it. She has high enough endurance. Fine. Alright. Alright, fine. Fair enough. What about these? The Devesp gauntlets. Sure, why not? It's so bizarre. Alright, fine. Actually, I think Vasco could use the sword, maybe, unless his is already good enough. Probably is, though. Yeah, it's already better. It's cool looking, but it's better. No, it's not even a main character only item. It's just a not Vasco item. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. Put the rapier away. Put that away. I can sell those eventually. Sell both those. I'll sell that. Or... You'll give it to somebody. Maybe it's female or main character. That could be it. Honestly, it could be it. Wizkid said, I guess I just hate being left on red. In person, people always have a social obligation to talk to you. Online, they can straight up pretend you don't exist. I'm at my best when being loud and noticeable. That's true. Honestly, to me, I find a big difference between... I find one of the greatest benefits of... Actually, no, we can just go this way. One of the greatest benefits of online communication, digital communication, is the time difference. Right? Excuse me. And maybe it's because I'm old. Right? I'm an aging millennial. So maybe this is different for me than it is for some younger people, but leaving on red for me isn't like that never comes off to me as a sign of rudeness or anything like that. To me, that just seems like I just haven't gotten back to it yet. Right? And that's a normal way for me to either to respond or just not respond to something, at least not yet. That seems normal to me, right? Because again, text communication is like the greatest strength in my mind for text communication is the fact that there isn't the same sort of call it urgency, right? There's no, or there shouldn't be, I don't think, an expectation of answering right away. And that if I do answer right away, then it's a pleasant surprise. That's all, you know. Oh, I already have an Inquisitor's Chain. Aphra. She doesn't need magic regen at all. It's only mages. Yeah, I can sell that. Alright. But to me, like, that is honestly a problem I have had from time to time, especially when I communicate with younger people. Like, I have to clarify to my friends your age, like you or Kylie or any of our group chats or whatever, that if I don't respond to something, it's not because I'm rude. It's just that I didn't. I think of text messages or Facebook messages or whatever like letters, not like a conversation. You send something, and if you send something back, it's to me, it's not. To me, it doesn't seem like you're sending it back as a social application or anything like that. You're sending it back. You're not even sending it back, so to speak. You're sending something because you then want something. You want me to know something as a follow up. So I see it more in that context rather than in the context of we are having a conversation, and then it stops at some point, right? Because I can perfectly comfortably have a text conversation with somebody that works like correspondence, right? I can talk back and forth with somebody and then just stop responding, and then just come back to that conversation a while later. And if they don't respond immediately, of course they didn't. Why would they, right? So if I'm like having a conversation with somebody and I just heck off to go to sleep, or go to class, or go to lunch, or I'm in the middle of a conversation, or the kids need something, or whatever, to me that doesn't seem odd. It doesn't seem odd to my instincts because I don't sort of subconsciously contextualize it as a conversation. I subconsciously contextualize it as a kind of correspondence, where I will answer that later, another time. So I don't know. Maybe that's my ignorance of young people's social norms, and so that treating a conversation that way would be inappropriate. Or maybe that is a reasonable way of treating the problem, and it's a way around the kind of issue that you're pointing to. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know really what to make of that. I'm not by no means an expert on young people culture, on especially Zoomer communication standards at all. I'm not even an expert on millennial conversation standards. Whiskey said, in response to some of that, yeah, that's a valid thing. It's when people like me want to circle back, but don't. They don't want to seem creepy. In real life, conversations flow more naturally, and it's harder to walk away, which in my mind makes it easier to actually engage with someone directly. That's true, and like I said, it's. I don't see a text exchange as that kind of conversation. That's the difference. If anything, it is a way to start a conversation, and then the conversation can happen in a voice way, whether that's a call or whether that is just talking to somebody in person. I love Discord for that. It's like, hey, jump in the voice server. Sup, okay, I'm definitely gonna try and think of them in that way much more going forwards. Don't necessarily do that because other people might think it's weird. Know that is a way of thinking about it, and make sure that you're aware of the social conventions of whoever it is that you're exchanging with, put it that way. It says that strikes me as a much healthier way of conceptualizing texting, and it takes the weight off of social anxiety. Okay, yes, yeah, absolutely. I think it is an overall better way of conceptualizing texting if both parties are aware of it and if both parties are on the same page. That's the thing, and that can be a problem because then. Otherwise, it can turn into a kind of, leaving somebody on red seems rude. All right. I think I need to do something about my capture frame rate. I just realized that when UI elements appear on screen, like, they get weirdly jittery. Like, the bugs. No, those aren't. I know. To be fair, those are not UI elements, but they're flickering a lot more on the stream than they are on my own rendering. It's not a resolution thing, I don't think. It might be a frame rate thing. I don't know. Anyway, it's all about Siora.
Siora, Asir, always with your new friends.
Bertir to Madiseld, I'm happy to see you. What do you want?
Want help?
I'm only here to accompany Siora.
I came to give our mother back to the earth, Iselt. It is high time we did, I know. Performing the ritual might help me feel less empty. Iselt, I miss her too. Did you go to Vasrigan? No. Preparing the place is the role of the Donegada. I was afraid I would not do things properly.
Okay. Let's go to the tumulus. What's a tumulus? Wizkid says, I think people my age are caught between traditional social norms and our non-stop, always in motion culture. We don't know how to handle the disconnect, so a lot of people just don't engage entirely. Yep, couldn't agree more. Honestly, I think another issue with it is also just the sort of being recently, not just recently, but recently all the more so, forced into online and asynchronous modes of communication more and more. Because, with the world ending a couple of years ago, there's more and more I guess I would say there's more and more reasons not to talk directly to somebody. Because online engagement, right, seems to be very clearly the more normal means of interacting these days. And those online interactions are primarily asynchronous, but they are also high demanding. Tend to be. Okay. Ooh, I'm getting jittery. The stream is, and I'm not. I haven't drank that much coffee. I'm fine. But yeah. Yeah, again, it's just another artifact of how the wild and insane cultural and governmental responses to COVID have basically torn society apart. Society was already splitting at the seams. This has just ripped things open. People were already incredibly hostile to each other, just as a default, just given the sort of tumultuous...
we are approaching Vasrigan.
Tumultuous political stuff going on.
This burial mound has been the final resting place of our queens for generations. It must be prepared before we can start the ritual.
But even just with political stuff going on, people have been at each other's throats now for years. But then suddenly, you add to that a set of very, very obvious tribal markers, like masks or not, primarily. That's the big one, really. When you add that layer of obvious tribal markers, which also, at least on the one side, maybe on both sides in some cases, serve as a kind of I would say virtue signal, but it's really a substitute for virtue signal. It's a kind of performative substitute for ethics, let's say. That leads to cases where people are going to actively fight each other in public. And it's not just going to tear apart society along tribal lines or whatever.
Wrong. Normally, you would hear the birds singing in this place.
What do you mean?
I don't see anything.
But it's literally going to lead to open conflict.
Tenlands. This is not their natural habitat. We cannot leave them here, so close to the burial mound.
Okay. So we gotta go kill some Tenlands, don't we?
Bit of poison on my blade. Then let's go!
Everyone go to sleep. we go.
understand what they are doing in this area. You never see any around here. They must have nested in the shadow of the burial mound.
In that case, we have no choice but to destroy their nests. Otherwise, they'll just keep coming back.
You are right. We cannot let these carnivores roam so close to my mother's remains.
Ooh, that's got some implications. But yeah, it is the tipping point that pushes society from sort of socio-political unrest to literal street violence. And guess what? We've seen it. We see it all over.
Poison on my blade. And let's go.
We see people who are like literally fighting one another
Poison on my blade.
over,
And let's go.
you know, the usual COVID-related stuff for the most part.
Let's see if you can.
Okay. But it's that escalation that's really the troubling part. The most troubling part to me, at least. This kid said, yes, I hate it. I cannot begin to articulate how much I loathe online learning and how much I miss seeing people, young women in particular. Of course you do. But that aside, oh geez, hello. Oh, hello. Everybody sleeps. Not even just a flirt, he says, but just to watch young people be around themselves and be young people. Yeah. No, I agree completely. It's we don't have a society anymore right now. We have a bunch of completely and utterly disconnected people. I mean, you can look to
Bit of poison on my blade.
the attempted to have been cancelled for example, Robert Malone, Dr. Robert Malone, in his Rogan appearance, the one that got everybody all mad and got him canceled from everywhere, about, I don't know if YouTube still doesn't like this phrase, so MFP, let's say. That. What we can call crowd psychology. Let's say that. But that's the kind of thing that can really only happen in an environment where people are utterly disconnected from each other. And that's what we are seeing. And I think that's what we are intentionally producing in a lot of disturbing ways. All right, let me see. What should I do? No, traps are dumb. I got guns. Guns are nice. Guns all the way up. Guns out, fun's out. Yeah, let's just go one-handed blades. Let's just go blades. Whiskey says, I just worry about how much more we can take before the boogaloo really pops off. 5 years ago, I'd say we had 30 years minimum. Nowadays, I can see we could weather half of that. I don't see it escalating to, like, violence. Not really. I think the worst I could see for... Agility. The worst I could see happening is the kind of... honestly, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing now, small-scale escalations that are pushing. They're pushing back and forth. I mean, look at Ottawa right now. Yeah, democracy is the tyranny of the masses. Yeah, masses is, I think, the appropriate term. It's a collective spirit kind of thing. It's people acting as a collective, and they envision themselves as a collective. But I don't see like a civil war proper setting off. Could happen. Don't get me wrong. It could happen. But I see splintering happening first, because people in power are. How do I put it? I think that most people in power, most people who hold tyrannical positions, are more than anything fearful people. And they will back down from a fight, like. And so it'll always be a low temperature civil war, if anything. I don't think the guns come out. But I do think people will be pushing hard. Like I said, look at Ottawa. You've got 50,000 trucks, 500,000 people descending on the capital of Canada, and you have Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, fleeing the city, allegedly fleeing the country, possibly hanging out with his father down in Cuba. Like, didn't I do that? I thought I started it already. But it's not like Trudeau, somebody like Justin Trudeau, is going to sit around in his little fortress of Ottawa while it's under siege, as he sees it, by a bunch of truckers. And these are just truckers. These are guys with semi-trucks. These aren't people who are here with weapons of war. These are a bunch of dudes who are here to disrupt things, because they've been disrupted. I love to see it. I'll tell you what, I love to see it because, first of all, it's peaceful. They're not bringing, small or larger arms at all. Oh, convoy. Yeah. I love it. And it's showing the weakness of those in power. January 6th did the same thing. Did you see, like, all of the people who went on their unscheduled tour of the Capitol? I mean, scheduled by the FBI, but that's separate. Right? Their tour of the Capitol, who were just wandering around, staying inside the velvet ropes and wandering about. One of whom was murdered by a police officer who got a promotion from it. Ashley Babbitt, remember her name. The moment from that we should remember the clearest isn't Viking hat guy standing behind the podium. It's not based Florida man stealing Nancy Pelosi's podium. It's not the guy who I don't remember if he shat or farted on Pelosi's desk. It's not AOC thinking that she's about to be raped or whatever, even though she was in a completely different building. It's not any of that. The moment we should all remember is when we had lawmakers, tyrants, these people who want to exercise control over every aspect of our lives and destroy us, people, ordinary people. When those people were cowering in terror underneath their chairs in Congress because a bunch of people, not one weapon among any of them, had entered the building. It was not an insurrection. If it had been, it probably would have succeeded. Temporarily, of course, because then, military would have come in, and then that would have been a horrifying hellscape. But the point is, the people in charge are so terrified. They're innately terrified. They are frightful people. Because they have to be to maintain power. Plato taught us this. This is in the Republic. The tyrant is governed by fear. His own fear of everything around him. Everything and everyone, and the possibility of him being deposed. This applies to almost everyone with any measure of governmental authority. At least partially. And if you find somebody who that doesn't apply to, they're probably a good person who managed to find their way into the system. Somebody who's not afraid of all that. They're either a good person who's doing something good, who's trying to fight against all of that, or they're a fanatic. Somebody who's not there for the sake of power, but there for the sake of an end, there for the sake of a goal. In other words, they're not a tyrant. They're a timocrat. They're someone who's there for glory, whether their own or for the sake of the nation. Maybe they're an oligarch. Maybe they're there for the sake of wealth, and that's it. It's not about power; it's about wealth. And once they know that they're there to enrich themselves, their state, their people, whatever, and so they don't have a reason to fear people. Maybe they're a Democrat, so what we would call a demagogue. Those people also don't tend to be afraid of the masses because they manipulate the masses, they control the masses, so it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's the tyrant that is so terrified of the people around them. Like think about the comparison to somebody like Rand Paul, who has literally been shot at in Washington D.C. by a crazed Bernie bro, and then he immediately came out afterward and was like, "This was ridiculous. This is a terrible person who did this, and they're behind bars. Don't worry about it." Basically, I'm summarizing. Such a hello. What have I done? Oops! I hit my Windows key. Sorry about that. Anyway, we're back. In a moment, we're back. But that's such a stark difference between so many of these lawmakers, so many of these petty tyrants, literally cowering under their desks. Because, as this kid noted, old knitting lady waving her little American flag, going, I wonder where the gift shop is wandering through the halls. Because, oh no, that's what they're afraid of. Justin Trudeau has gone to visit his dad, Fidel Castro, or at least his grave, down in Cuba, because a bunch of truckers are driving their semi-trucks and honking their horns. Honk, honk. Or I guess honk, honk, but whatever. Still, it is the perfect application of meme magic against the villains of the world, and it's working. It works because you don't need, actual, real violence. Thank God. I'm really glad that these things can be settled non-violently. I'm not saying there's a political solution. I don't know if there really is, because politics is innately corrupt and corrupting. But I think there's a civil solution. And just saying no. Just saying no. Hell with this. We're going to be free, and you're going to deal with it. That's all we can do. They are really good at aggressive violence. We're not going to win that fight. If we get into that fight, no one's going to win that fight. But we can always just tell them to go fuck themselves. Oh yeah, WizKid says, it's kind of nuts how empty the mall was when I was there, so when you were there for the March for Life. It is weird. I mean, the whole city is still on, tight lockdown, isn't it? There's fences everywhere and stuff. At least that's what I've been seeing on the news and stuff.
We will need some sensors crafted especially for the ritual.
Where can we find them?
It would be ideal if we could craft them ourselves, but otherwise the village artisan probably
If we can
sells
do
them.
that.
And I will also need some mortuary lotion. I will have to coat my mother's body with it before giving her back to the earth. I will give you a list of all the ingredients because we will have to prepare it ourselves. The merchants won't sell it. Once we have gathered these last items, then Isolde and I will be able to perform the ritual. I thank you for being by my side and helping me the way you are. It means a lot to me.
Don't mention it, Siora.
Yeah. We have one sensor. We didn't make another one. This kid says, man, I wish I could have gotten to meet Rand Paul instead of Lisa McLean. Not that she wasn't nice and all, but you could tell she was a politician by how she held herself. No more kings. I'm fine with kings. I am totally fine with kings. The trouble is when kings abdicate their authority by exercising their power. I've written about this. I'm going to be writing more about this gradually over the years. I think there's even an article on it I have somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. On anarcho-monarchism is the... I've written a theoretical argument about it that I have an old version of it. I have an in-progress version of it that's getting thrown into my dissertation in the last chapter, in the applied ethics section. But yeah, I'm that weird duck who's an anarchist, but I don't actually have a problem with authority. I have a problem with power. Where's the nearest camp? Oh, wow, that's far. Okay. All the way here. All the way down to Rye. It's probably the closest. I mean, unless this, up here to the north, this might be quicker. That might be quicker. No, it won't. Let's go. Let's just go the way we came. That's easier. Whee! I mean, I'm not even going to say that Rand Paul isn't a politician. He is. He's, you know, his primary occupation these days, at least, is politics. But I don't think that's his sole concern, certainly. There's enough of his father in him that he seems to actually care about the reality of the people around him, the things that we should care about, rather than, you know, amassing power through politics or whatever else. This kid said, I guess, like, I like kings in theory, but in practice, like you said, they almost always exercise their power to the detriment of the people. Okay, fine, but again, it's about power. The exercise of power is the problem. It's not the exercise of authority. These are two completely different things. Power is imposition. Fundamentally, it is imposition. It is using coercive means to get someone to do something that they would not otherwise do voluntarily. That is the exercise of power. That's maybe not quite precise. I might need to refine that. I've refined it in writing elsewhere, like I said. But that is very, very different from authority. Thank you, Erica. Also, his dad is still alive and would probably bend him over for a spanking if he went off the deep end talking about Rand Paul. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, honestly, man, Rand is really unique. I need science. Jesus. Sensor. Any sensor? I can make one of those. And you only need one. Okay. I need one more. Okay. Not that. Mortuary lotion. I need science level. I thought I had science. What is this? Okay. I need my Kafka. My Kafka. Kaftan. Oh no, that's what's her faces. That's Afra's old one. I can get rid of that. Kaftan. That's it. This gives me science. This lets me do science better. There we go. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Ron Paul's still in shape for it, too. It's impressive. He's in impressively good shape. Anyway. Yeah, the difference between power and authority. And I have another article on this as well. Hold on. I'll put a link to that, too. That one's a little harder to find because it was published by... I didn't self-publish that one. That was actually published. So I'll have to find a link to where you can find it online. It is available somewhere. It's just a little bit harder to find. Yes. Great.
We have all that we need.
Not yet.
Let's go back to the burial mound to put everything in place.
Let's go there in a moment. I need to change my shirt because it looks stupid. There we go. Now let's walk there. All right. Should we have Vasco? I feel like we shouldn't have Vasco. I feel like we should have somebody else. Who should we have? I want to have Kurt. Yeah. I always want to have Kurt. Kurt's cool. It's a cool dude. Not Kefka. Halfton. Kefka. Oh, Final Fantasy VI. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's deep cut. Either way, no, but deep reference there. All right, let's go that way. Anyway, like I was saying, power, like I said, is the ability to induce someone to do something through threats or violence. Okay. And it is almost necessarily intrinsically immoral. There is an exception to that, which is defensive. The defensive use of power against other persons is acceptable. However, that is the only exception. What's going on here? Really? Really? I'm gonna... Fine. Go the other way. Authority, however, is basically the ability to get things right. The ability to say, you ought to do this, and to be correct about it. To have one's commands be morally binding. Authority is what is vested in, for example, the church, the hierarchical structure of the church. The church has authority, because it is given by God the power to bind and to loose. What that means is, effectively, the church can proclaim what is true, because it is preserved from error. That is really what's key there. Oh. Oh. Like I said, it's very different from power. Now I've argued in my writings, in a couple of my writings on anarcho-monarchism, that I'm probably going to expand on more. It's something I'd like to actually make into a full book eventually, one of these days, someday. That by exercising power improperly, a king, otherwise just, who is otherwise vested with authority, abdicates that authority by misusing it. Effectively by misusing power, by using power for aggressive, immoral means, what they are doing is they are declaring, they are providing evidence that their moral authority is suspect, is faulty. That there is no obligation any longer to listen to them as an authority. They abdicate their power by exercising power. Or they abdicate their, precisely speaking, they abdicate their authority. They abdicate the authority to use power by using power improperly. Now, the neat thing about this, and where this gives you anarchism, is twofold. One, every king in the actual world, aside from perhaps popes, and probably not even all of them, have in fact abdicated through this means, have acted unjustly, and have therefore abdicated their authority. The other part of this, the other important part of this, is that by presenting this standard, by having this requirement to act justly, and not use power for aggressive and coercive means, unjust means, by which I mean not in violation of aggression. What this means is that a king who enforces anything against the will of his subjects, even if he has the authority to rule on it, that a king who does so is no longer a king. De re. No longer actually a king by authority. And so you can have a king, but the king cannot exercise power. They can only exercise authority, which means they can only say, they can only proclaim, they can only speak. They can't command. They can't coerce. They can't do any of the ordinary things that we associate with the political means. That's a spicy hot take. But it's Tolkien's also spicy hot take. I'm talking about King Elisar, for example. Aragorn, that is. WizKid said, hold on. Even about Vasco, who in the romance Kurt's the interesting one. Yeah, that's true. He's the go-to. Yeah, he's great. Erica said, WizKid says, yeah, I agree. I've been saying since I was a teen, authority doesn't bother me. I'm Catholic, for God's sake, and his authority supersedes all others. But power and how it corrupts and collects, I take issue with. Yeah, I mean, shorter version of what I said without the technical precision, I would say. Because you have to give a reason for why it is that power and authority are both distinct and how they conflict with one another in most real-world cases.
Here we
Let's
are.
see.
It is on this stone altar that we will place the body of my mother. We must place a censer where her head will be, and another near her feet. And then you will have done everything you could to help me. And I am infinitely grateful for it. Your presence by my side means a lot to me. But only my sister and I can participate in the ceremony. This is how our ritual of the dead is performed.
Okay. They can decree, but they can't execute. Yeah. They can perform, in modern political terms, they can perform the legislative but not executive function. They can even perform the judicial function, maybe even primarily. Actually, hold on. Before I finish this up, because yes, I want to do this, but I want to clarify this as well. There's an open question as to whether a just king can perform the legislative function, and I kind of lean towards no, strictly speaking. Unless we mean something really atypical and precise by legislation. So, if by legislation we mean the creation of law, Aragorn's tax policy, as you point out. That's why tax policy doesn't matter. Yeah, take that, George R. R. Martin. Absolutely. Martin was ridiculous and is just taking modern post-Enlightenment philosophy, political philosophy, and putting it into a medieval setting and pretending that it makes sense. He's an idiot. He doesn't know history. He's read about the War of the Roses and decided to make a fantasy story about it and added dragons. That's kind of it. He doesn't actually understand complex geopolitics, especially historical geopolitics. Anyway, if the act of legislation is the creation of law, it is fundamentally unjust and constitutes an abdication of one's right to rule, one's authority. What this means, effectively, is that if you are enacting laws, if you are saying this ought to be done for no other reason than it has... no other reason than it has been decreed, that's fundamentally unjust. By contrast, the judicial function, the interpretation of law, is really what is more appropriate for a king, and it is the interpretation of law, the natural law which is already there. So, unless by legislation we mean something much more shallow, much more simple, that to legislate is to codify the natural law. If that's the case, fine, legislation is fine, but it's not legislation in the modern sense, by any respect. So that, again, should be made perfectly clear if this is what we're talking about. Erica says it would be more like a tribute collected coming through and taking donations for Aragorn instead of if people want. And, you should want, because he's a just king. Exactly. And he could even, to be fair, he could even say, this is the amount that is appropriate for a tribute, or for maintenance of the city, or maintenance of the country, or maintenance of the kingdom, or whatever. He can even lay out a tax policy, so to speak. But he wouldn't be just to enforce it. It would be unjust of him to enforce it. Now, that's if he knows exactly what is required, which is unlikely, because he's not omniscient. We still have the knowledge problem after all. We have the Hayekian knowledge problem still applies. So again, I don't think that that's an appropriate question to ask because, again, a central figure of authority promulgating a tax policy for a kingdom the size of Arnor. That's silly. That's Arnor being all of Western Middle-earth, Gondor, Rohan, and Eriador? It's called Eriador? The region of Bree into the north. That area. Where the Shire is. I think it's Eriador. Or is Arnor just that region? That half of the kingdom? I need to remember my Middle-earth geography a little better. Sorry. But in any case, yeah, it's too big, it's too widespread, it's too spread out, it's too communication's too slow, especially in that kind of context, and it's just too cumbersome for a person to ever know what's just in a situation like that. So it would be unjust of him to say, you, Barlam Butterbur, in the innkeeper of the Prancing Pony in Bree, owe this much to the throne in Minas Tirith. What? No, shut up. Aragorn would, or Elisar, I suppose I should say, would know better than to say something so idiotic as that. So that's what I'm getting at here. His tax policy would be subsidiary. It wouldn't be consolidated in any way, because it couldn't be, and he would know that. A just king would know that. Winskin says a natural law ought to be a law that is laid out and determined by what is appropriate and needed for healthy human psychological functionality. I'd hesitate to say psychological there, but maybe social functionality. It's not just about what's mental health and such. It's about human interaction with other human beings in society. So social functionality more so than strictly psychological. You're continuing. I'll wait about a moment. Have a sip of coffee and do this.
There. Everything is in place. Thanks again, Anar Manawi. My sister should be joining me soon. You should wait outside. Oh, these rituals are demanding. But they help us to say goodbye to those we love.
Oh, you have your sword.
You have been a true friend. A Karans, accepting to help me the way you did. Thank you. I will never forget the kindness you displayed, conforming to our customs and staying by my side.
It's only natural, Siora. I know what it feels like to lose someone who is dear to you.
We should go now. It is time to return to the living.
So Wizgate also thinks that Arnor is the whole region, Gondor is the king of the east. I think that's right, but again, like I said, I could be off. I could be off on that. Let's talk to Miv. Let's go! What's the best way? That way. Whee! Now, it's worth noting that all of this is really abstract and hypothetical, because, as I kind of mentioned, at least I hope I mentioned, maybe I didn't emphasize this enough, that, no, that's not true. No, how do I say this nice and precisely? No secular king has successfully ruled in this way, ever, that I know of. And I am an historian to a degree. I literally a degree. I have a degree in history. And I don't know of any actual king, actual ruler of any sort, that has fulfilled these requirements. Aside from popes. There are popes who have been good and just anarcho-monarchs. Anarcho-kings, precisely. And I think that I think that even the not as great popes still successfully perform this function, let's say. I think. Because they don't do anything to abdicate their rule by ruling unjustly. It still counts. So I think that, and this is why I've said before that Vatican City is the only functioning anarcho-monarchy in the world, and it has been for a very long time, maybe forever, but at least for a very long time. Philosophy God. The Old Days Journey. Whiskey says societal functionality is an offshoot of individual functionality, I suppose. Psych major, after all. I think most things in such terms. Yeah, that is the danger, isn't it? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Nope, wrong things. Many, many wrong things. But yeah, that's like I said. It's. I haven't picked up anything at all. Okay, never mind. That is a huge danger, and it's something that I'm probably going to have to talk. I've already mentioned this to my classes, actually, a little bit. But it's something I'm going to have to talk about coming up this week when I'm talking about logic, critical thinking, and that sort of thing, particularly in the context of deference to authority and citation and appeal to legitimate or illegitimate authority and things like that. That experts have this really nasty tendency to make everything about their area of expertise. I do it too. Harder for me to see it when I do it, but I do it too. I try to make this, for example, I know I do this. This is one problem I know I have. I try to make the empirical sciences. I try to approach empirical sciences with an a priori mindset, and I know that that is inappropriate, but I fall into it anyway because it's my method, it's my methodology. It's easy to fall into. Now, to be fair, I'm a little bit more aware of this problem as a philosopher, and so I'm a little bit more able to mitigate it than a lot of, especially hard scientists. Hard scientists tend to be scientismists, or whatever you want to call it. Physicists are really bad about this. Physicists are practically obsessive about the primacy of physics, and they try and do philosophy because they think they know physics, and they do it terribly, terribly bad. Lawrence Krauss is the best example of this. His book on nothing was just crap. I'll put a link to a great review of it from Ed Fazer about why he was so terrible at it. What goes so horribly wrong? Good idea. This kid said there weren't there a few presidents in the 19th century who were just basically, lol, do what you want, I literally don't care. Very few. Very, very few. The one who got shot. Not Lincoln. Lincoln kind of did the opposite of that, but the other one who got shot. He was kind of like that. Honestly, most presidents before Lincoln were kind of like that. Lincoln was a god-awful tyrant when it comes to that sort of thing, but he changed the spirit of the presidency, and then Teddy Roosevelt changed it even more, and sort of continued down that path really, really badly, making everything the president's business. A great example of this. I forget where I heard about this recently. Who was talking about it recently? But they were talking about it in the context of like political functionaries now. Oh gosh, excuse me. Especially presidents, but any kind of high-level bureaucrat. We think of it as these weird celebrities who kind of pronounce on things, just do the thing. And they were relating it to whoever was having this conversation. They were relating it to Teddy Roosevelt, who had a meeting at the White House about safety in college football. They're just like, what in the hell? What business is that of the President of the United States? I don't know. It was either Tom Woods or Dave Smith talking to somebody about something. Might have been Lou Rockwell. No, it wasn't Lou. Judge Napolitano, maybe? I don't remember. It was one of the two of them, and talking to somebody. I wish I would say I'll see if I can find it, but I almost guarantee I can't, so I'm not going to make that promise. This kid says, I've noticed that. I do it too. I try to give everyone their due, but still, trust the expert schmucks get under my skin in more ways than one. I see what you did there. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Hello, Mev.
Absolutely.
Renoixe, why have you come here again?
Yeah, trust the experts about their relevant expertise, not about everything. Yes, I trust virologists about viruses in particular and the development of viruses and such. I don't trust them about the organization of society. That's for economists and philosophers. Depends on the philosopher as well. Depends on the philosopher. It's not even quite my area of expertise, but I'm at least adjacent. Anyway. This is the thing, right? Because we need her to see through the eyes of the healer who was helping Constantine before he was killed and see his last moments, which is really nasty, apparently, to help try and figure out what happened to Constantine. Yeah, I guess so. This kid says, there used to be two of my favorite presidents. Nowadays I feel much more conflicted. They used to be two of everyone's favorite presidents because that's what we were all taught in elementary school. Is that, your favorite presidents are supposed to be George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt. Those are your three. Those are your three favorites. George Washington was cool because he was the first one. Maybe because he abdicated after 2 terms. Maybe. But he also did the whole suppressing the whiskey rebellion thing, which was shit. And then Abraham Lincoln was really cool because he stopped those damn slavers in the South, and that was nice. It was very nice of him. He definitely didn't have racist motivations or tyrannical aspirations or anything like that. And John Wilkes Booth was just purely a villain, was insane, had no idea about what he was talking about when he screamed "Sic Semper Tyrannis," and had nothing to do with. He was in no way comparable to Julius Caesar or anything like that. Who, by the way, Julius Caesar was a good guy. Shh, be quiet. Don't talk about that. And then Teddy Roosevelt had a really cool mustache. He liked guns, and that was really cool. He was fat, so that means he's relatable. And also, he was really cool because he was like super involved in stuff, unlike those other presidents who were boring. Am I getting it right? This is about what we all learned, right? This is what I learned until my AP US history class in high school. I actually had a fantastic teacher. This is the same guy who, by the way, told us about the story of how he helped rig the Kennedy election. That guy. Till then, this was the story. This is the standard line. Anyway, so let's see about this. See how you respond to that. See if that rings any bells.
I've come to ask you for help.
My help? You still seek the remedy for the sickness on your island? Or are you looking for something else?
My cousin has been taken.
Actually.
And I've been told that you could help me.
Truly? And
by performing the Anatalis fair on the body of Katasak, the Donegad.
Katasak is dead. Under Voshtire. This is a great tragedy. He was a good man. Perhaps the best of us all. How did this happen?
He went with my cousin to a sacred site when they were attacked. My cousin has disappeared, taken, according to a witness. And Katasak suffered terrible wounds. We examined him, and it seemed as if he had been struck by molten rock.
Fire of the earth? Only the Nadaig Maneman have the power to wield it.
What does that
but
mean?
None of our own would have attacked Katasak.
This is why we need your help. We want to understand and to find who's responsible.
And you will avenge the dead as you have avenged my wound in the past. Very well, Renoixe. I will help you. And I also wish to gain understanding. Our island wails in suffering. Many Sinolmenawi have died. The Anatalas fair may kill me, but at least I will know. You will need to act as my Voglendaig, and bring to me the necessary ingredients while I prepare.
What do you require?
A potion. And listen and remember. Or write in your language what I shall tell you. Do not forget, the viscera of the scavengers must be taken from a place near the battlefield.
because they contain the flesh of those who fell. As for the personal object of Katasach, find his weapon, because it knew his fury and his despair.
He didn't have a weapon when I found his body. I'll search the battlefield.
Where can I find him?
In Duren's camp. She recovered him after the battle.
Very well. Not far from there is a sacred circle. You'll find me there when you have united all that I need. Then we can perform the ritual when the moon is high.
Okay. Yeah, let's just quick travel with her. That'll be
In that
fine.
case, let's go together to the ritual site. The place of the attack is not far
So,
from Duren's camp.
Whiskid says, okay, but
Very
George
well.
Washington was pretty
I'll
cool,
follow
all
you.
things considered. Yeah, relatively, sure. He's definitely cooler than the other two mentioned. The other two, pre-listed favorites. But he also participated in the overthrow of the legitimate constitutional or pre-constitutional governmental arrangement of the Articles of Confederation. He came out of retirement to serve as precisely as a political leader. He advocated the moving of the capital to a specific location because it was close to his own personal residence. In part, I should note, in part because let's do that. In part because it would naturally it would increase the property value of said estate. That's pretty cool. Radically increase, by the way, the property value of that estate being so close to the new capital of the nation. Things like that. Also, the whole Whiskey Rebellion thing. That was just awful. That was basically he became the British that he fought against. So yeah, suppressing a tax revolt. Not even really a tax revolt, more like a we're not going to pay your stupid taxes. Basically, if it's like the trucker thing happened, and instead of fleeing to Daddy's house in Cuba, if Justin Trudeau had personally rode out and started murdering people, that's roughly the equivalent. So Washington was no pure saint, even when it comes to presidents. Why there? Pizak's weapon is there? I should go to the Camp of the Stone Arch, shouldn't I? Gotta be. Wizkid says, correctly, I think, Kennedy is also sometimes part of the triumvirate. As much as I liked old Johnny Boy in theory, the fact that people worship him and his family is cause enough for alarm. Yeah, there's also the thing about the various things about his horrible philandering. That he used the Secret Service to keep track of and keep note of proof of the sexual conquests of him and Robert, his brother. Because they had to figure out who was the more virile. So naturally, they would go off and see who could sleep with more women in one night. But they would have to make sure that they weren't just making it up. So they had Secret Service personnel peek into the room just to confirm that everything that they claimed was happening was actually happening. Cool guy. Really cool guy, I guess. Real man of the 60s, if nothing else. Real man of the 60s. When are we fighting? Where? That and the whole, the various aspects of administration and administrative and electioneering corruption and things like that. To be fair, he was also, targeted probably by the CIA. He was doing things against deep state interests, so there's benefits there. There's good things. There are good things. It says, oh, that's unfortunate. Pretty sure he only came out of retirement because Congress begged him to, but yeah, that's a fair reason not to like Georgie Porgy Puddin'. That's what we're going to call him? That doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right. Even for me, I don't have a tremendous amount of personal respect for the office holder, let's say. Oh, Kurt took care of it. Okay. I assume the unfortunate was about Washington when I said about Washington, not so much about what I said about Kennedy. That's taking some time to sink in, I suppose. And again, this is stuff that was documented by Secret Service people, more so than general public or journalists. This. That's an interesting something. It's a toppled winged statue. That's weird. This kid says the Kennedys are cursed for very valid reasons. In other words, yeah, you could say that. Okay, we're good. No more armor. Oh, nice one, Kurt. Yeah. Now, that said, the recent books and appearances and all that from Robert F. Kennedy about Fauci. Woo! Woo! There is some good stuff there, and I am deeply impressed that somebody that immersed in the institutional governmental apparatus and like basically America's royal family is willing to talk trash about the world's probably most prominent villain right now, or maybe top 3. Let's say top 3, because it's got to be Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un, number one villain in the world. Close second has to be Xi Jinping. Number 2. Barely number 2. Number 3, probably Anthony Fauci. I would say somebody down in Australia or New Zealand. Maybe Jacinda Ardern. I hesitate to say anybody in the Australian government because their horrifying tyranny seems to be spread out across a lot of people. There isn't really one person I can peg it on. But, man. Now, that said, certainly Australia is is almost definitely the third most tyrannical country or nation or state in the world right now. So there's at least that I think I can say with confidence. New Zealand's up there, certainly top 10. Austria's probably up there in top 10. A couple of places in Southeast Asia are up there too, but we don't really hear about them so much. But really, Fauci is almost solely responsible. Not almost solely responsible, but he is in large part responsible for some of the worst atrocities that have been committed in this century.
I recognize this weapon.
Not the last century, not the last 100 years, just to clarify. The 21st century.
Broken during the Let's take it back to Mev.
A potion for Didigizin Camp or Hikmet. Let's go to the camp. That'll be fine. Camp will be fine. We can craft it here, yeah? We need what? Potion for the ritual. I need science. Okay, that means I need That means I need to craft that. One of them. Eat Mev at midnight. Where do we meet Mev? Is it right here? It's pretty much right here. So that means I should wait until night, doesn't it? Okay, so I can sleep till night. That'll be fine. I hope nighttime doesn't mean literally midnight, but I have no way at all of knowing what time it is in this game, and that drives me insane. Whatever. Okay. This kid says they could have been the Texas of England. Feels bad, man. They were kind of until relatively recently. Look at crap. What was the outlaw? What was the Australian outlaw that made like the sheet steel armor that was basically bulletproof and robbed banks for like 10, 20 years? Nah, not that long. A couple of years. Basically made bulletproof armor from steel. Was robbing banks for like a couple of years. A long time. Stuff like that, man. It's really cool. Like Australia was like wildly free. But also not really. Australians culturally also tend to be kind of weirdly complacent. Complacent about governmental tyranny and such. Which is troubling. It was really, really troubling. I don't know. A lot of Australians, expats mostly, who talk about this, say like a lot of the people they talk to back home don't think it's so bad. Meanwhile, all of us and the rest of the world are looking at this like, utter shock and horror that they're using literal concentration camps. And building more as we speak. Okay? Yeah, cool. That's great.
Were you able to find the elements I need for the ritual?
Yes. Here is what you asked me to bring.
This is good. The moon is high. We may start. Take your place. Katasar, we have come to learn the truth of your death. Ato al confrangawi brandi, ole hanamemen adestame haman. Baravridenan tahanemo quate grenfem, linkui damda renaute da hodos. Lemat, de tahawan kloisam, de talugedon velam, de taragam buledam, de tatamenam reloidan, adotalamen kantebedam, en antelam verfragt tangom.
Katasak, help me, please.
Show no fear. I do not think he means you any harm.
What is this? This monster. Why is it attacking us?
I don't know. I don't understand. It is as if it seeks you out. It wants you. You never should have done that, Katasach. To save one, Renaikse, you put us all in great peril. His spirit is different. He receives badly. You have woven the bond of the Deathbringer.
What is happening to you? Get a hold of yourself. Come on.
cannot believe it. He has returned.
Who has?
Finbar. The High King. We thought he was dead. He disappeared months ago.
Is he the attacker? And what of Constantine? Have you seen a young, blonde-haired man? He was sickly.
Yes. The golden-haired was there. And he was afraid. Katasach protected him before he was killed by Finn. Leave me now. I am very tired.
How are you feeling?
Killed by the High King.
What
That's
are
odd.
you going to do now?
It's very odd.
If I want to have any hope of finding Constantine, I must follow Vinbar. I have no choice.
Do you know where to look for him? Vinbar has been missing for moons.
The kings and queens could tell me when they saw him for the last time.
Then you must earn their trust. Arm yourself with patience and courage on Olmenawi. Your journey is still long.
Thank you, Mev. You have helped us greatly.
Do not thank me. I have not done this for you, but for Katasach. In order to satisfy my curiosity, I betrayed my king. You will find him and confront him, no doubt. All that remains for me to do is to pray that I have done nothing that cannot be fixed.
Farewell, Mev.
I like how the two quests here are converging, really at the same objective. Both of these are about finding the High King. They're both about, okay, this one's about the High King's trail. This one's about finding High King Vinbar. Everything leads towards roughly the same place. I think that's really neat. That's really neat. That's really good story writing for an RPG like this. That's very open ended, but they want to sort of funnel you towards an end game. This is nice. I like it. It's well done. So WizKid talked about the last good extra credits was on that guy, whose name I can't remember, and it's gonna kill me. Let's do this one. And where does that mean? We need to go. Means we need to go away. All right, so let's go over there to travel, work. And WizKid said, yeah, to me, Steve Irwin and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger will always be the true cultural legacy of Australia. Yeah, that's true. I took a course on, I took an honors course in undergraduate about Australian culture and stuff like that. And it's not so much the political culture. We didn't really get into anything like politics, but it was about like cultural history and stuff like that. And it was really interesting. Because there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of mixed influence from a lot of different places. So, from the Pacific Islands, from America, obviously, but then also, England has a huge cultural influence on Australia, and a lot of that is where we get the kind of compliance culture, if you can call it that. All right, good night, hon. Get a long day, certainly. I'll be along soon. Wait, wrong way. Sorry, guys. But yeah, Steve Irwin, the whole Wild Bushman or civilized man dealing with the uncivilized world type of thing. That's just perfectly Australian. Perfectly Australian. Love it. Steve Irwin, really. More than anything else. Okay. Domri. All that means is I've got to keep an eye on my chat, and make sure there's no thought bots and such. It's terrible things. All right. I assume Michael is already sleeping, I should think. And that's good. It's very good. Okay. Ulan or Dunkus? Questioning the clan leaders. Okay.
To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit?
I'm in need of your help, Ulan. I'm looking for your High King Vinbar. I was told that you were one of the last people to see him.
I wouldn't know where you could find him. He disappeared moons ago, but you are our ally, our friend. I will tell you about the last time I met with him. We had met in the council at Dorhad Genadu to decide what to do about the Renaigs, but we were unable to come to an understanding. Some of us are full of violence, and refuse to see what we gain by befriending your kind. Deirdre and the poor Bladnid were among them, alas, and only speak about the massacres. I defended you, of course, and attempted to make them hear reason, with some help from the cautious Dunkas. But our disagreement angered Vinbar. He decided to leave us and to seek counsel elsewhere. He wanted to go to the heart of the island to consult with on Milfrictiman.
Do you think he might have stayed there?
I doubt it. It was too long ago. You should travel to Wenshavar, his village. Even if he decided to stay away from his people, he would not have abandoned his closest friends.
Thank you, Ulan.
Anything else?
Nothing.
Alright, that'll work.
I must go.
Okay. There we go. We haven't been here at all. Unamide. The fiery soul. I take it that is the volcano itself, right? I'm sure we'll go there eventually. Anyway, yeah, let's go there. Stiger Falag. Anyway. So. Yeah, so I also mentioned already the I did it before you got here, Whiskey, but I mentioned already that some of the surprising absurdity of St. Leo, at least, continued COVID policies, and that I'm at the very least on a positive note, at least going to be able to use them to illustrate some absurdity. Oh, wrong button. There we go. That for some reason, I mean, I kind of know why, but for no good scientific reason, the administration has decided to continue with masks everywhere indoors for the next week. Because they were planning on adopting a new policy as of the start of this week, as of today. I guess maybe as of Friday or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. This week, basically. But they've continued with the old policy for an extra week, just cause. You know, we need an extra week because that'll make all the difference in the world, right? Of course, none of the policies make a lick of difference, logically or empirically. So of course they don't. But what are you gonna do? So I've mentioned that. I've mentioned the absurdity of that. But at least, like I said, it gives me something that I can point to in terms of something we can criticize for logic in our class this week. So there's that. Then further, the other thing is my other school, USF, has recently been going just whole hog on diversity, inclusion, and equity stuff. If you will. More, side questy stuff. Nice. This kid says, the thing that intrigues me the most about Australia is honestly how their dialect must have evolved. I mean, it's from country English. Like British country English. An informal, outside of big cities kind of rural English that developed its own sort of twang as they encountered other people, like Americans most notably. There's also a lot of Irish influence. Hello. Hi there. Excuse me? Hello. Get rid of some of your armor. Get rid of some more of your armor. Oh, more of your armor. Come on. More of your armor. Armor's gone. All right.
Move away. Things are about to get dicey.
But like I said, USF has been going a little bit more overboard even than usual about their diversity, inclusion, and equity stuff. Like they have this new-ish program for like the mental health of oppressed peoples that explicitly involves affirming their experiences of things like microaggressions and yada yada yada, all that stuff. And it is, again, begging the question. This is a great example of the logical fallacy of begging the question, because it begs the question. Whoa, that's pretty nice. I might use that. Because by assuming that it will be affirmed, then they are assuming from the outset that these experiences are not flawed or not in error or whatever. A lot of resistances. Man, that's nice. No, maybe I'll give that to... I should give that to... No, not Petrus. Siora. Siora should have that. She can't use it! It's player character only. It's player character only, isn't it? Balls. Alright. That's fine. I'll live. Anyway. You're big. But I haven't seen all that much of it before relatively recently. It hasn't been as all over the place as it has been relatively shortly ago. And man, oh man, it's been taken off like crazy. And it's like just this week, I suddenly have been seeing tons of new things about it that has that's just annoyed the living crap out of me because it's absolutely ridiculous. It's resolutely illogical, let's say. That I can actually wind up getting rid of eventually, and I'll switch it to this. Ooh, that's even moddable. I can add modifications to that. Oh, crap. I hate how it looks, but I might have to use it, because it's just that nice. Likewise, I really don't want this, but it's just that nice. Man. It's the most notable of these USF die initiative things is if you look in the Discord server, I put up the announcement there for the counseling center outreach program meetings thing that are just utterly ridiculous, and it's Whiskey said, that's true. A lot of Irish escaped the potato famine by emigrating to Australia. Whether that's emigrating willingly or unwillingly, a lot of them, as everyone kind of knows, were prisoners as well. Oh, hey. There we go. But yeah, that's, a lot of it was, like I said, a lot of it was prisoners as well. Especially Irish prisoners, because you know the English. Wait, where the heck do I need to go? I should probably go down there and check that out, down here, before I go north. So let's go see what that is. Looks to be something there for us to look at least. No. Might be something of value on the beach. Oh, it's just more monsters. More lizards. Nice. But I've been trying to. That's another thing that I've been trying to do a little better with my use of language lately as well. I've been trying to use precise and applicable insults, so I can avoid the accusation of just hurling insults without meaning, because it's a common problem, you know. So when I call something ridiculous, I mean it very precisely, very literally, and very straightforwardly. When I say that something is ridiculous, what I mean is that it is open to ridicule, or at least in some cases, I mean ideally, is subject to ridicule as well. So that not only should it be ridiculed, but that people actually do ridicule it under the right circumstances. And that is the kind of thing that I think applies to like COVID policies especially, and die as well. Will in fact ridicule it. Now maybe more should, obviously, with respect to all of these things, more people should ridicule all of these. That's not the right direction at all. We don't want to go there. We want to go the other way. Because we don't want to explore just yet. There's a camp right there, too. Alright. Let's go that way. Then we'll come back. Or we'll come back. Bird. It's a bird. Lamb. Magnificent feathers. Camp right here. Yeah, that'll do. And then there's the village is just past it. Nice. Set up camp. Let's once that loads, let's save real quick. Whiskey said as an aspiring, hope not. I hope you're doing fine. As an aspiring mental health professional, there. People who enable weakness and mental instability really irritate me, and that is exactly what it's doing. It is explicitly promising in advance to validate and confirm one's feelings of basically one's feelings of oppression. Let's just go with that. And it's I don't need it. I want it, but I don't need it. Actually, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do, because I can get rid of that one. I can take it out, because if I ever need to dress up like a big important native, I'll have it. Excuse me. Anyway. But yeah. Speaking of aspiring mental health professional, did you get to see that that video, or I guess that recording, that talk from Father Ripperger on mental health and modern psychology? And if so, what'd you think? Did you actually get through more of it? I know I briefly mentioned it in the Discord, and I talked to you about it a little bit, but I was hoping you can give me some thoughts that you might have on it. Because as a serious and devout Catholic who is also in the field of modern psychology, maybe you can tell me more about where he might hit and where he might miss. Because if there's anything I can say about Father Ripperger, it's that he hits a lot and he misses a lot. Both. Really both. And the things that he misses, he just misses wildly because he has no idea what he's talking about, even slightly. And I kind of got the impression that that was the case in some of the things he was talking about there. So I would like a more informed second opinion if you've got one. Anybody watching now or later doesn't know exactly what I'm talking about, I'll put the lecture in a link in the description after the stream. So you can see exactly what Father has to say. But he's basically condemning the field of modern psychology, the modern field of psychology as it stands. And I think he has some really solid points, but at the same time, I also think that, again, I think he's way off base with a few things, just because of his unfamiliarity with the literature and with the secular science, right? And hell, even with the secular culture. It's similar to, and honestly, it comes to a kind of sheltered clerical naivete, maybe. I think it's the same problem that he has elsewhere. Like, I've seen the other key example of this, the best example of this, is when he's criticizing Harry Potter as being sort of a pathway for demons, that kind of thing. And he talks about how he and other exorcists talk about how there are actual demons' names used to name characters in Harry Potter. Which is nonsense, because most of the names are either standard British child names, or they reflect astrological or mythological figures. That's it. That's all they are. Fine, mythological figures. Okay, I guess, but only insofar as you can't name your child, I don't know, Zachary because it's a derivative of Zeus. Oh, what? Yeah. Okay, yeah. WizKid asked, will it annoy me? Maybe a little bit, maybe parts of it. Parts of it, though, I think will be really insightful. It's one of those things that Father Ripperger is just so good at, of getting some things just really, really, really spot on correct, but then getting other things horrifically wrong. So one of his points that I thought was spot on is that that modern psychology, so modern meaning 19th century forward, psychology, the field of psychology with Freud moving forward, is fundamentally materialistic, and that it begins necessarily with the assumption, and this is even traceable through Jung et al., that the divine and the immaterial and the supernatural are strictly projections. They're either projections, or they are symbolic, or they are, in some sense, unreal. And they begin with that assumption, and they use that assumption to come up with results. And of course, that's mistaken, and so it's going to come up with faulty results. And so he uses this and a few other arguments to conclude and to show. And he's also looking at empirical research on this that I have no reason to doubt, but could perfectly well be could be misinterpreted. Possible. I'll leave that to you, perhaps. That most clinical psychology has either a 0 or negative success rate with respect to curing mental illness, especially in the short term. But then also he says some ridiculous things. Like, one of them that stuck out at me that really just, like, gave me that hint that he doesn't quite know what he was talking about. This lecture was in 2016, I think, and he said, well, see, there's this book called the DSM-4 that lists mental illnesses. And he talks about the legitimate problem, which has no categorization for mental health. What is mentally healthy? It only lists the deviations from mental illnesses. Fine, fair enough. Not a huge criticism, but it is one, I suppose. But in 2016, saying, well, there's this book they have called the DSM-4. It's like, one, your information's really out of date. Two, to talk about it in those terms means that you're not familiar with the scholarship. That's what that means to me. Either that or you're talking to an audience who is like 10 years old. And he's not, because he's talking about very adult themes and such. So he either is incredibly ignorant, or he's assuming his audience is incredibly ignorant. And that's an impression that I get from him a lot of the time. So, I don't know. I'd recommend it. There's a lot in there to digest, and a lot of in there that I think is legitimate and I think is really solid. But there's also, like I said, a lot in there that's just ignorant is the only really way to put it. So let's see.
Beard Tirtamad on Almanawi. Esqueto.
Hello. I'm sorry, but I do not speak your language.
Really? Then you are a Renaigse. I have never met one with the bond. Might I do something for you?
What can you tell me about your village?
Wenshavar means the water of the peaks in our language. The sky is our roof, the mountain our cradle, and the birds our companion. They offer us their feathers that we weave with wool to make clothing that is appreciated by the Donegada. And also, of course, it is the village that has given birth to the one chosen for our Hoi King for many cycles. Anything else?
My king.
What can you tell me about the High King? You must know him well.
He is a great Donegad. Wise, just, and through him, the En-on Milfrictimen makes their voice be known. But he has been gone for several moons. What the mountain gives us, sometimes it, and I for one, believe that the mountain has taken him. Anything.
This is that. I mean, in some ways, yeah, in some ways, no. It's more agnostic. Even with young, it can be hard to tell because of how much he simps for magic. That's true. And now, on that note, though, I will say that the religious outlook tends to be the least superstitious with respect to sort of arcane powers, arcane forces, and things like that. Stuff that is hidden beneath the surface. Arcane or oh gosh, what's the term? What is the term? It's gonna kill me. Subtle is a bad translation of it, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. The occult, that's it, occult. Whereas the agnostic tends to be wildly open to such things, and that qualifies, Jung qualifies there as well. Now that said, I think agnosticism is an assumption, and it's that we fundamentally can't know. And I think that, again, that assumption still plays in there, and I think it's somewhat dangerous. In terms of misinterpretation of thought, misinterpretation of intention, especially. So, and it does, maybe I'm wrong about this, but, and this is based on what Father Ripperger has had to say, and based on also my observations about clinical psychology as well, modern psychology, is that these assumptions, this assumption of agnosticism is fundamental to the science. And because of that, it is studying the human person as a natural, as something which is natural in the sense of being purely material, something being animal. Animal rather than rational, as opposed to rational. Without a dividing line between, as a more classical thinker would say, the dividing line between rational and brute isn't there. And so we are just sophisticated animals, and that is the kind of fundamental assumption of clinical psychology. And so that the science, as such, doesn't have a proper connection to its object of study. That's another big point that he made, and I think that is another key point that I think he's right about. But again, I only think that he's right about that. I don't know how central that is of an assumption to modern psychology. That could just be something that is common but not central. I don't know. Because he also, the other thing Father Ripperger tends to do is he tends to wildly overreach. When it comes to a good point, he expands on it like crazy, and he tries to apply it everywhere he can, and I think it's a big fault. Let's get this DSM-5 is the new one. The idea that it's strictly diagnostic manual. Its purpose to diagnose problems, not necessarily enumerate normality. In part because normality is a bit variable from person to person. I think modern psychology suffers more from an unwillingness to condemn certain kinds of dysfunction. I agree. Than it does from a spiritual quandary. In part because Lewis stated, I'm guessing you're going to talk about the analogy of psychology to mechanism, but I could be wrong. So do proceed. I'll address that point, though, as well, because I do think I have a point to say about that. That I think... Oh, okay, here we go. Therapy doesn't have the authority to instruct in morality, although I'd argue that there is an innate need to act as a moral guide, so much as its purpose is to bring mental dysfunction to the surface and deal with it. So that's the thing, is that I don't think that there is a distinction we can draw between the two. And that in trying to draw that distinction, what you're doing is you're trying to cordon off the ethical from the practical, whereas the practical is ethical. In my experience as well, psychology, clinical psychology, at least modern psychology, has a problem with reconciling with all of the transcendentals. With being, reconciling with our nature as beings. It has a problem with reconciling with the good, because again, as you've noted, it tries very hard to separate itself from the normative, aside from health. But that is described purely in subjective, experiential, phenomenological terms, right? Healthy is what doesn't cause distress in psychology. Again, at least most schools of psychology, as I understand it. So it has trouble wrestling with the good. It has trouble especially even, minor one. It has trouble wrestling with beauty. Because beauty this is more of a cultural thing, but beauty is seen as subjective entirely. And so our perception of beauty is not seen as a perception, it's seen as a projection. That's not really a psychological problem, that's more of a cultural problem, but it's still there in psychology. But then most importantly, it has a problem reconciling with truth, is that as most of the psychology I have encountered, whether that's academic literature, or that's fellow academics, or that's clinicians, have a problem reconciling truth as an objective standard for what we might call mental health, right? What we could comfortably call mental health. That truth is independent from what we ought to be pursuing. That what we ought to be pursuing is a kind of mental peace. Maybe that's not the right term for it, but lack of anxiety, a lack of distress, something like that. And I think that is wildly disconnected from reality. Wildly disconnected from reality, because reality should be focused primarily on the truth. Especially our mental states should be focused primarily on the truth, and our choices should be focused primarily on the good. And if we wander from either of those, and by the way, our appetites should be focused primarily on beauty. And if we stray from any of those transcendentals, then, well, the entire field is fucked. So maybe that varies within the discipline. That is the majority view as I have observed it, at least. Wiskid says, no, I think the best psychologists acknowledge our position as unique cognizant beings. The cognitive science in particular has been grappling with and failing with the consciousness problem for ages. Yeah, and philosophers of mind do this now as well, like crazy. Quine is really bad about this. Quine and who's it's been a while since I've actually read a lot of philosophy of mind literature. The names don't come to mind exactly. Was it Chisholm? No, it was Chalmers. David Chalmers, recently. Basically just analogized the mind to a computer again. That, well, the mind is a sophisticated computing machine, right? And I'm just like, no, you're an idiot. You're obviously wrong, and you're obviously wrong in a lot of ways. So, no. This is why computers have trouble with natural language. Because natural language refers, it has a referent. And computers can't do reference because they're not intelligent, not wise, let's say. So yeah, cognitive science is intruding on the domain of the philosophy of mind, and the philosophy of mind is trying desperately to back up the discipline of cognitive science. That's where you get most of those sort of self-loathing philosophers these days, is the people who think that the discipline of philosophy should just sort of be subsumed into cognitive science or whatever. I'm just like, no, stop it. Get some help. You get the impression from folks like this that the only reason they're not cognitive science and they are philosophers is because they suck at math and they couldn't cut it in a STEM program. That's it. And that honestly, some of them I would not be surprised if they would admit to that. At least if they were drunk. Anyway. This kid says the distinction exists, but it's too fine to actually make a difference in the grand scheme of things. Ultimately, it's the fact that you can't take religion out of anything dealing with people problems. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. The trouble is, you can at least try to take the objectivity of religion out of people problems, and that's a problem that goes back to the Enlightenment and back to the Protestant Reformation, that treats religion as something that can be appended with the indefinite article, say a religion, which is nonsense. Religion is an objective practice, and it can be right or it can be wrong, and so it should be. It can only be reconciled properly with reality if it's treated as such. Psychology doesn't do that because it has Protestant assumptions about something like a plurality of religions, something silly like that. Whiskey continued. I didn't realize that was a comma. I thought it was a period. And people who have a bias against religion are innately biased against making actual progress against their dysfunction. Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. Yeah, I think, again, inability to wrestle with the transcendentals is one of the primary problems of modern psychology, just like it's one of the primary problems with every modern pursuit, modern intellectual pursuit, or practical pursuit. It's the problem with modernity, as my dissertation will say. I mean, my dissertation is focused primarily on the metaethical dimension, so the connection between being and goodness specifically, but you can apply the same measure to truth, which people like Edward Fazer are doing in the philosophy of science very spectacularly. You can also do the same thing in beauty, which is the kind of thing that Sir Roger Scruton was primarily concerned with, sort of recovering an ancient mode of dealing with transcendentals and applying it to modern problems, which is something that is woefully neglected in a lot of at least the mainstream secular ethics literature and metaethics literature. I don't expect to crack that market because I'm not really writing to a secular audience, but whatever. I should. I wish I could crack that audience. There's no way for me to do that without reference to God, and so a lot of secular philosophers are just going to dismiss it as philosophy of religion, even though it has nothing to do with philosophy of religion. That's its own separate field, but whatever. What are you going to do? Whiskey says, I think you can help hippy-dippy people who acknowledge the spiritual aspects of the world. People who don't have any spirituality are very difficult to help. Honestly, I think that I don't see much of a hardline difference, really. Because hippy-dippy people who see a spiritual aspect of the world don't see anything objective about it, in my experience at least. They don't see that what moderns would call the supernatural element of the world, that which is beyond the material, at least the immaterial part of the world, is objective. They see it as something about themselves, which it's seen in a similar way as a kind of Jungian projection, that it's part of myself that I project out into the world. And so, yeah, it is a connection between me and the world, but it's not a connection between me and anything above me. Connection to things that are around me, or maybe beneath me, usually around, not above. There's no objective connection to ultimate transcendent reality. That's, I think, the biggest problem. Anyway.
Tell me about Sarah.
She is a ferocious warrior. And like I told you,
we can, of course, pick this up as well Thursday, after you've seen the thing.
The companion of the High King. They gave themselves one to the other many cycles ago. And their bond is very strong. Perhaps that is why she has left. Because she no longer could bear his absence.
Well, that's someone to look for, certainly. Okay.
I am looking to find Vinbar, the High King of Tir Fredi. and I was told that he was born in this village. He disappeared after visiting the heart of the island, but I was hoping someone here might know where he's hiding.
You should speak with Sarah. She is the companion of our king.
Where...
But she left.
I do not know. She left the village and I have not seen her in several days.
Great.
Anything else?
Nope.
Goodbye.
That was unuseful. Thank you, though.
Seg.
Oh, God. That was wildly unuseful. Actually, now that I mention it, I think I am going to cut you off there, Whiskin. So, sorry to end the conversation there. That's certainly getting interesting. So, one last thing. I'll definitely read this and let you finish, because this is, like I said, this has been a great conversation. I do look forward to finishing this Thursday, so keep all this in mind. Winskid says, psychology sees religion as just another cultural construct, so it's very phobic towards giving Christianity or any religion, but mostly Christianity, its due in how right it is in dealing with problems fundamental to the human experience. Well, yeah, obviously. Again, it's a Protestant assumption. It is a secular Protestant assumption. Which is it? Where's the book about this? I've got it around here somewhere. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Hold on. I got this. Oh, hey. The other book. Hold on. Other thing. All right. Okay, so if any of my students here are watching this, this is the book I was thinking of Thursday that I was mentioning. It's Thomas Kuhn, Structure of Scientific Revolutions. Anyway, I mentioned this in class on Thursday. I couldn't think of Kuhn's name, so here it is. Thomas Kuhn, this guy. I'll bring that up in class. I'll remember to bring that in class. Anyway, so that it's just one of those things that has been bothering me for several days, that I've been trying to remember who I was talking about at some point. But no, this is the book that's relevant. Migrations of the Holy. This is my William Kavanaugh, same guy who wrote Myth of Religious Violence. This is phenomenal. He's actually going to be at St. Leo next month. I definitely want us to go see his talk and have a chat, because he's utterly changed the way that I observe the modern world as distinct from the pre-modern. And this one primarily is about how we treat the religious as an option, right? As when we approach religion, whether that is something we acknowledge as religion or something we merely treat as religion. So the state, or so God, state, and the political meaning of the church. So things that are also socio-political that we treat as religious. That any of that is an option, a subjective option, something that I do that you may not, and that difference is reconcilable in some way, rather than confrontational. Rather than saying, I'm right, you're wrong, it's more like saying that I've chosen a different option than you. Which is why, again, the cover has the migration from an understanding of religion as religion to an understanding of the state as religion. And the problem with the state as religion is that there's lots of them. And so you can't have, unless you're going to have some kind of weird messianic jingoism, you're not going to say that there is one legitimate state. You're going to say there's 200-something legitimate states. And so this arises from a Protestant notion of treating other religions as legitimate, as religions, rather than as failures of religion, something that falls short of being religion. Anyway. Wizkid said, I don't know, most of my hippie-adjacent people seem to acknowledge a fundamental spirituality in the world, but they don't understand how Christianity actually fits into that. Yeah, like I was saying, I mean, there is a kind of fundamental spirituality. It's just, like I said, it's flat, not hierarchical. And that's, again, I think a big problem, is that it doesn't acknowledge the transcendent as such. Anyway, that's something we're going to have to end on, because, as I had kind of mentioned, I have to get up early tomorrow. I have class very early in the morning, and so I have to get ready for it, I have to get everything ready, and then I have to go straight to sleep. So, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am still gradually and vaguely working on that audiobook recording of Hard in Hightown, and then I'm going to be working on that next video I was mentioning. Again, class materials permitting. So expect that soon-ish. I'm going to shoot for Thursday, but we'll see. I don't make any promises for that. Otherwise, so keep an eye out for that. And then I will certainly see you on Thursday this has been our last Christmas stream of the year, of the liturgical year at least. And so, one final time before Candlemas, Merry Christmas to you and yours. And that means, because I don't really believe in ordinary time before Easter, that means that next stream is going to be our first Mardi Gras stream. So I'm looking forward to that. And that is going to be Dragon Age Inquisition on Thursday. And then we'll be right back here for more Greedfall next Monday. So thank you all once again for joining me. I hope you all have a wonderful night. See you next time.